Bienvenidos aquí en Oaxaca. Welcome to here in Oaxaca. We gotta talk. We have got to talk. But we're gonna walk and talk. So this is something that comes up a lot. People have asked me, and if you click on this video, it's because you're thinking about it or you've thought about selling your things to travel the world. So it's a question I literally get a lot. Like, Luke, should I sell everything and travel the world? Well, I got a question for you. By the way, look at all these little small, cute coffee shops here. My question is, what do you want, first of all? That has to be like the big $1 million question is like, well, what do you want? Like, you want to travel the world, but like, do I sell my things? Like, what do you want? Some of y'all are so miserable where you are. And the biggest fear is like, well, if I let things go and then I just jump, what happens if it doesn't work out? Or people see me fail? If you're miserable where you are, what makes you think that's not already a fail? Like, if you don't like where you are, if you don't like what's going on where you live at, you don't like your job, but yet you stay there, how on earth do you think that that's a better solution? Because I just want to kind of remind you, well, there's a lot of people there. What is that costing you staying there? Have you thought about it? Like, what's it costing you staying there at a place that you don't like, that's taking your energy, that's taking your creativity? What is that costing you? You might not feel like it's costing you anything, but what is it costing you if you think about it? Because I can tell you right now, we're going to go for a walk, guys. We're going to walk and talk. I need to go into the market and get me some juice. So we're gonna just walk through the center of Oaxaca. So one thing I can tell you is, if you guys don't know, I've kind of just was a pro athlete for 12 seasons. And then after that, traveled the world really full time for about 3 years, almost 4 years it feels like. And I've never really worked a 9-to-5 job before. I did one time when I was 16 and it was not my thing. It was just a summer and I was just really glad to be done. But about 2 weeks ago, I did. I went back to America. I'm putting together a little mini documentary series of my time working a 9-to-5. And one thing I can tell you is my feet were hurting, my back was hurting. I'd already tasted what it was going from like being a full-time traveler to going to 9-to-5. And some of you guys haven't been full-time travel, but you've traveled. You felt remember what it felt like when you were on vacation and you met people, you were happy, you were laughing, you were joking, and then you went back to work, or you went back to a situation you didn't like, and you think about how that felt. I'll show you guys around here a little bit while I'm walking. You guys remember how that felt? And for me, it was not a good feeling. Like, everyone was complaining at the place that I worked at. No one was really super happy to be there. And here's the crazy thing that I really found was that if they had stopped paying everybody, I was working at a warehouse. If they stopped paying everyone, they would not show up the next day. And I thought about, like, what an interesting way that someone would want to spend their time in their life doing something they wouldn't die for. But it's gonna kill you. But you wouldn't die for it, but you're willing to live for it. Now, for you guys who are happy and enjoy where you are and everything, more power to you. This is not a video for you. But for you guys who are not, who you look at the time and you're rushing off to work and you're just like, you're walking out of the job and you just wish you parked closer, can't wait to get home. Because I want you guys to think about it. I've told you guys before, there are people who, when they finish work, before they even get in their car and drive off, they just sit. They literally just sit in their car. And they can't even think clearly. So for someone like this, like, what do you have to lose? I'll tell you, the one thing is where I was at, if I would have stayed there, like, what it was costing me my energy. I've never been more empathetic for the people who are working jobs that take their energy and soul away. Because it didn't take my energy and soul away, but I was so tired. To try to be creative required something deep, deep down. And I realized how much of a trick it could be as well. Of like, you got all these bills to pay now. You got this house bill to pay, this new car that you can drive around and show off, but you only can really drive about 10 hours a day because you're, well, maybe 5 hours a day because you're working and sleeping. So for those people, it's like, if that's what you go through on a daily basis, what's that going to cost you in like 6 months? Like, what's that going to cost you in like 6 years if you keep that up? Like, so should you sell everything and leave? Like, I mean, what do you think? What would you tell someone that every day they feel tired, every day they feel exhausted, every day they just want to just be done with it all? Would you tell them that they should maybe travel or sell everything and start again? Like, what do you think? Like, it's a big deal. Some of you guys, you can't even think, or maybe I should say it like this. You'd be surprised the thoughts that would come to your mind. By the way, isn't this beautiful here in Oaxaca? Some of you guys don't even know what it feels like to be able to wake up whenever you want to wake up. And here's the thing, you're like, well, what am I going to do about money? I already worry about money. Well, do you guys understand that sometimes it's cheaper to travel than to stay where you are? Like, it's cheaper to travel some places than it is to stay where you are. And my heart just goes out to all the people that are just so sad every day. And they have to force a smile, and it just gets a little bit harder every day to force that smile. But yet they're fearful of wanting to sell everything and just go into the unknown. Some of you guys have no idea how happy you'd be, and when you'd be that happy, what you would do. Oh, look at that dog. Some of you guys have no idea. If you could just walk the streets, I'm here in Oaxaca right now, if you could just be here. I'm gonna have a video coming out here talking about the prices and how much it costs to live in these places. But with $600 a month, you could live here, go out to eat every day, joke around, have a good time. This menu del dia, look at this. Pastel de carne, that's like cow, like red meat. Potato, I should have came here. But that's like $3 for that whole meal. And you get this view. So sell everything and travel? Well, it depends what you want. Do you really want something that's different than what you have now? Because when you want it bad enough, I guarantee you won't even ask that question. But I know it's scary. I know it's terrifying. I know it's like something not even think about, to have that security. The one thing that I did, I will say this was pretty cool. When I worked this little 9-to-5 job for a few weeks in the States, it was cool to have that security. I'm not gonna lie, it was really cool. Like, I knew I was getting paid every single week. I knew exactly how much it was. I knew exactly when it was gonna come in. There was no doubt about it. None at all. Look at that. That was cool for about 2 weeks. And then it's like, yeah, okay, that's my security. I have that security, that's a great feeling, but I don't have my freedom. Like, I gotta ask people before I go to the restroom. I gotta ask if I can go somewhere. I'm getting yelled at because I took too long in the bathroom. Like, that didn't happen, but I was thinking about it. It could happen. Happened to someone I was working with. I was like, man, this is such a different life. Is it worth it to have security like that? Like, was that security worth it? Yeah, you guys who follow me on TikTok this week, we crossed over 500,000 views, by the way, with the little incident we had with the police on my motorcycle. Something for you all to check out. But I had all this security, and at the time I was like, you know, if I had to do it, if I didn't know anything, I would work here for a month, sell everything I had, buy a one-way ticket to somewhere that I wanted to go really bad. Maybe factor in the price, a place that was more budget-friendly. Maybe South America or maybe Eastern Europe, something that was a little bit more friendly on my budget than where I lived. Possibly. Because it wasn't worth the security. Like, if the security cost me my freedom, then what do I need the security for? And then how secure am I really? Like, how secure am I really? I was thinking about it. I was talking to some people that are doing really well financially, and they were talking to me about how expensive the insurance is if you're sick in the States. They need to get all this stuff done. They couldn't even afford it. So what is that security? If that security keeps me in the same place, keeps me from going out, talking to people, experiencing things, like that wasn't a good trade-off for me. And like I say, I had a very interesting perspective. Because I'm coming from the entrepreneurial world where I've had months where I'm in the negative and months where I'm not able to spend all that. And the security, that's what it all had been sacrificed for like this illusion that I'm better off than I will be. Like I was talking to someone about the healthcare here. I was like, they have free doctors here. Like if I'm sick, like I'll just go to a free doctor here. Yes, there's great healthcare in the States. Yes, you can get the best doctors, but it's gonna cost you anyways. And this like security that we're so addicted to, I think we forget that the higher the security that we have sometimes, especially this isn't the case all the time, but a lot of times that costs us our freedom. And so I guess the question comes like, is that worth it to you? So should you sell all your things and travel the world? Should you sell all your things and move to a new state? Should you sell all your things and figure your life out for 6 months because you know you can afford to live in a place and go there? Would that be worth it to you? Well, if you don't like where you are, what do you think? I just finished about 10 hours of lectures that I gave to I say lectures, but it was really just, I was giving a talk. It was a speaking engagement that I gave to a school, university actually in Poland. And I just finished up the other day, so I'm a little bit tired because the time change, my talk was from 2 a.m. till 7:30 a.m. to different groups of people, and I had little breaks in between each group. But the one thing is all these students had in common was they all were just going to a new place and they all were scared and terrified. But the average age was about 18 to 24, these people. So imagine someone 18, 24 years old. So all of you guys who are over 30, over 40, over 50, over 60, they were terrified at 20, at 18. That's why I came to talk to these kids. And yeah, kids. But here's the thing that people don't see is because if you're terrified at 18 and you don't take that leap, you don't take that jump, what ends up happening is you start to train your brain what to do when the unknown is there. And for some people, it's to run back to the familiar. That's why you stay stuck. Get to the unknown, go back to the familiar. Do the familiar until you get to the unknown, then go back to the familiar. And you just stay in this kind of loop. And at some point, if you want something different, you're gonna have to do something different to get out that loop. So yeah, selling your things and traveling, yeah, that's a pretty big, scary thing to do. And I will say this, the older that you are, the more scary it's gonna be because of how much you've changed, you've trained your body and you've trained your mind, you've trained yourself how to respond to things. And by the way, this is my favorite market here in so far, one of them, if you guys come here. But you've trained your mind, you've trained your brain, you've trained it what to do. So of course it's gonna be hard, of course it's gonna be challenging. But some of you guys are scared that you're gonna run out of money. Like if that's what you think right now, wait till you retire. You think that's gonna go down or go up? So if the whole goal is just for that security so you can just have a break and just, when you retire, you can be fine. I mean, maybe play that out a little bit longer. If you're worried about every dollar you spend, what are you gonna do when you finally retire and then you don't have that income coming in that you think? How are you gonna feel then? Is that anxiety gonna go up? Is it gonna go down? Just some things I think to think about. So should you sell your stuff and travel the world? People who write me like that, my first thing is like, I'm so proud of you. Because the level of courage that you guys have, that determines a lot in life. The most fun moments I've had in my life, and I'm sure maybe will change one day, it's when I had the least amount, there's a time in my life I had the least amount of money and I had the most amount of courage. When I met that threshold, I had money but then no courage, and then I had a little bit of money and a little bit of courage, but then something happened, I didn't have the money that I was used to having and I had a lot of courage. That's why I took a lot of risks. That's when everything just totally changed for me. And that's just me. But the one thing I can say is it's the courage that you guys lack, that people lack. It's the courage, it's the cowardness that we hide behind by saying it's scary out there or it's dangerous. People always ask me about Mexico, like Americans, people from the United States of America, because it's not right to say Americans, they're Americans here. But people from the United States of America say, you know, is it dangerous there in Mexico? And I'm like, I mean, it can be. They're like, yeah, that's why I'll never go. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, there's no one doing bad things in schools or going into Walmarts and doing things. I don't want to say it too much on here. But it's not crazy stuff happening like it does in the States or like in Chicago, for example. So perspective changes everything. If you have one perspective your whole life, you're seeing everything through that perspective. If you've just known security, if you've just known doing things one way your whole life, then it's normal that you're going to look at that through that same situation. So if I could recommend something, is should you sell all your things and travel? What's the alternative to that? What's going to happen to you in 5 years if you just stay there and don't do that? How many more videos you're going to have to watch? And one of the things, if you guys like, you guys can book a call with me and I'll help walk you through it and get you through some of those blocks. But one of the things that I tell to people is you don't want to have that horror story that I've heard so many times with elderly people, not even elderly, even in their 50s, of saying, you know, I had an opportunity to go somewhere and I didn't do it. And that was sparked by this lady was sitting in a cafe and this kid, I walked in there and this other people walked in there with their bags for backpacking. They put it down and she looked at the bags and she almost had this like sad look in her eyes. And I was like, well, what happened? You know, what's going on? She's like, I had an opportunity to travel and they didn't take it. They were too scared. They said that they'll do it later. But later is very interesting because later is a very interesting word because later's a trick. It's a trick word because you don't know what's going to happen. Later has a lot of assumptions with it. She ended up having kids and she ended up having to help out her parents and she ended up losing her job and life just kind of happened and then opportunity closed. And I think life offers us opportunities, and as we take those opportunities, it gives us the opportunity to show our courage. People say why do you think guys, I tell you guys, work hard, be brave. Don't forget to smile. Brave, you take risks. Doesn't make sense on paper. Didn't make sense on paper for me to be a pro athlete at all. Came from a small school. I came from a small school. Wasn't that skilled compared to some other people. But it was a risk. It was a risk. And sometimes in life, you have to take that risk. You come to a point where your talents don't cover you anymore. And it requires a sacrifice. You only can get so far. You have to sacrifice something. And if you don't and I'll end today's video by saying this because I want to go in the fruit market. I'll end my video by saying this. You can sacrifice for what you want right now, or you can let what you want right now become the sacrifice. My name is Luke. I want the best for you guys. Reach out to me, social media, email, everything's open for you all. And until we speak again, remember to work hard, be brave, and don't forget to smile. Ciao. My favorite market. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Buenas tardes. ¿Pasas por este? ¿Pero un grande?
Un vaso.
Sí, perfecto. ¿Cuánto cuesta un vaso?
20.
¿Qué es este?
Ese es guayaba con jamaica.
¿Y este?
Es jocote, la manzanita pequeña.
Sí.
Con mandarina.
Mandarina. ¿Y este?
Ese es jamaica con piña.
Con piña. ¿Y este?
Piña con maracuyá.
Este. Oh, no, un vaso de esto. Sí, por favor.
¿Azúcar?
Hola.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien.
Qué bueno.
¿Quieres azúcar?
Sin azúcar.
¿Hielo?
Sí, por favor.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien. ¿Y tú?
Muy bien.
¿Todo bien? Perfecto. See y'all.